We're back!
Hello, beloved listeners. I'm Nick Fisher.
And I'm Freddie Nasru.
And Overcranked is finally back.
It is, properly this time, honestly.
We tried over the summer, but no, we didn't. We tried in the spring.
Yes.
And our DVD, we were going to do film commentaries, and that packed in 2 editions of the same film, Silence of the Lambs.
The evil bastards.
It does, unfucking believable. We got to the same spot with 2 separate DVDs, same part of the film. When he meets Clarice, fucking stop working.
Yes. There must be some kind of...
I think we're cursed.
Yes.
Must be.
Yeah, something along those lines.
Now, boss, you had an idea. Because Freddie is our man in charge, because Overcranked was all his idea. And he had an idea to change the show a little bit once we finally brought it back.
Yes.
You want to tell us what we're going to do?
Right. Every Monday, there will be the traditional Overcranked, which is us two discussing a certain property. That property will, of course, change every week.
Or it could be like a particular actor or a director or a really niche genre like Best Westerns or something.
Or a very long film series.
Yes.
More on that in the near future. And on Fridays, we will be having the Overcranked
news. What we're going to do is take all the news, all important articles from film news in the week. We're going to try and take one from each day. But if we've got 2 really important ones on one day, of course we do both of them. And kind of have a sum up of the news of the week and discuss our opinions. You can listen to that during the weekend or whenever you want. We can't make you.
Yes, of course.
In fact, don't listen to it at all because we're kind of idiots, aren't we?
I wouldn't go that far. Well, kind of.
You know what the
idiots in some ways, but not in others. For example, we both have a keen eye for a good pint.
Yes, we do. Well, you do. You're the connoisseur when it comes to beer. But you know what beer isn't? Peaky Blinders, which is today's topic.
Yes.
Not Mad Max that we said we were going to do.
No,
you know, it's almost... I think we edited our last Overcranked Halloween weekend last year, so it's almost a year, but we're finally back. We did try a couple of weeks ago, but we kept fucking... Well, I kept fucking up because I was talking too much. Poor Freddie couldn't get a word in edgeways because I was nattering on about things that aren't important. But yes, we're back to talk about Peaky Blinders.
Yes.
We're going to talk about all 3 series so far, and we're going to be talking about spoilers. But before we get to spoilers, we'll just say it's really good, isn't it?
Very good.
We would encourage you to watch it.
Yes.
It's about post-World War I gangs in Birmingham, and it's fantastic. Cillian Murphy, also known as the fucking Doctor Strange, not Doctor Strange, Scarecrow in Batman Begins. What? Dr. Crane, that's it. In Batman Begins, he's the guy in Inception, Robert Fisher, and he's the guy in Red Eye. He's the one in Red Eye who isn't Rachel McAdams.
He's also going to be in the next Christopher Nolan film, Dunkirk.
Yes. Very
Which
excited
we'll
for that.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll probably do a Dunkirk episode.
Yes.
We'll probably do a Nolan episode, then a Dunkirk episode.
Ooh, yes.
If we haven't got sick of each other by then. When does Dunkirk come out? We might not.
I think it's March.
Oh, okay. We'll still be around one another then.
Yeah.
So Peaky Blinders.
Yes.
It's very good crime show. It's not really violent, but when it's kind of like The Departed. Because I know some people don't like gore. There's not a lot of gore in it, but when gore, there's not frequent gore, but when it's there, it's strong.
Yes.
It's very good. It's the best. It's the closest thing Brits have come to turning out TV that's good as American TV, like Breaking Bad, Game of Thrones.
I would go so far to say it's the best British TV show since 2010.
Was that
That's when Ashes to Ashes
okay.
ended.
Ah. Well, you heard it from the man himself.
Yes.
Right, so spoiler alarm. Peaky Blinders.
Yes.
Series 1.
Series 1 is the best place to start, after all.
Tell us about Series 1, boss.
Well, Series 1, it takes place in 1919. It starts off with the main character's family, they're called the Shelbys, being fairly low maintenance gangs criminals.
Well,
is that
they're not. They're sort of. They're working class gangsters, aren't they? They're sort of bottom of the pile. They're in protection rackets and
illegal,
fixed horse races.
Yeah. And well, they of course get involved in the accidental theft of
a bunch of guns.
Yes,
of
guns.
Well, we're not going to tell you the plot in great detail. This is where we went wrong last time.
Yes, it was.
I kept just saying the plot in note form. But you know the plot of series 1.
Yes.
Campbell wants the guns. Tommy wants help from Campbell, and he wants to. It gets quite confusing because he wants to. He makes friends with the Lees just so he can betray the Lees, so he can have someone to fight Kimber when he betrays Kimber. Let's talk about. You've seen the show. You know what,
we don't need to go into details.
No, but it's pretty bloody good, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay. Favourite character?
I didn't think this at the time of my first viewing of the first, which was only last year, actually.
We watched it together. It was January, wasn't it?
It was.
It was before that. Because it was before we'd done James Bond. Because by the time you came to my place, you'd seen series 1. I remember that. Anyway, favourite character.
Well, at the time, as I said, it wasn't this character, but now having seen all 3 series, probably Arthur, because of the way he develops.
Yeah. Arthur is... Sorry, we should... well, okay, you know who the characters are, but we will... Let's talk about all of the important characters in each series.
Yes.
Then we'll pick our favourites. We're not going to edit this out. Like,
no,
editing took longer than recording.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to listen to us mumble and groan and swear at each other and whatever.
Yeah.
Better than the last one, because in the last one I think I got distracted texting a few times. But you can't hear that. Well, maybe you can. Who's to say?
Yes. In fact, maybe our audience is entirely dogs.
Possibly.
Therefore, because of the different frequencies of hearing, they can maybe because of that they can hear you text.
Maybe. I hope they can't, because maybe they can hear which buttons I'm pressing on the touch screen and know what I'm saying.
Yes, that's.
But it's mostly me talking bollocks, and sending stupid memes to my friend Lauren. Right, Peaky. Oh yeah, what are we talking about? Peaky Blinders.
Characters in Peaky Blinders.
We've got Tommy, who is. He seems to me like a sort of. He seems to me how Robert De Niro is in Godfather 2 when he's young Vito. Because Vito kind of strikes me as not a bad person. Kind of like Mr. White in Reservoir Dogs.
Yeah.
If he'd had a different upbringing, he could have turned out... Like I always thought Mr. White, he could have turned out to be a police chief or something. And we know that Tommy was a war hero. He was decorated for bravery. And he is sort of better than the people he deals with. Like although he initially goes through with it, he saves Grace from being raped by... It's Kimber, isn't it, in Series 1?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. He's a guy with a conscience, but he is this very intelligent and quite...
Potentially controlling as well.
Yeah, there's a weird moment in Series 1, and his expectance for people to just fall in line with what he says just comes back, but remember in Series 1, what's the name of the prostitute?
I can't remember.
Liz, I think it's Lizzie. Anyway, he finds out his brother is going to be engaged to a prostitute, and Tommy offers her money to have sex with him because she says she's quitting, but he does this to say to John, she's not loyal to you. To make her dislike... He tempts her and then criticises her for it to his brother, and because he sticks his nose in where it's not wanted. But anyway, that's... He's kind of... He thinks he's a sort of puppet master. No, bad use of that phrase. He thinks he's in charge of people and can do whatever he wants with the people who work under him, and that's something that comes back in Series 3, but that's pretty accurate, isn't it?
Yeah.
Not puppet master, that's not fair. But you're absolutely right, he's kind of controlling, isn't he?
Yes. And
who would you say, after Tommy, is the most important character? Because we don't know. But like I said, we're idiots, and if you're still listening to this, fuck off. You've got better things to do with your time. Don't stay.
Don't.
Whoever
Please
you are.
stay.
We've only got one listener. Whoever you are, we know you're out there.
For me, it's a toss-up between Polly or Arthur.
Okay, yeah.
Because in series 2, there's all the stuff to do with Polly finding Michael, their reunion, and as I previously said, the overall development of Arthur.
Yeah, I see what you mean. I think, Polly gets second billing in the show. Helen McCroy, married to Damian Lewis.
Yes. She was also the quite bitchy politician in Skyfall during the...
God, she was, wasn't she? Yeah.
Inquiry
and she's
scene.
Malfoy's mum. Narcissa.
Yes.
Fun fact for you, one listener, my brother-in-law went to school with Tom Felton, and if you don't know who Tom Felton is, you have too much of a life to be listening to us. Seriously, What are you still doing here?
Also, Tom Felton is an Arsenal fan, so he's all right in my book.
There we go. What more do you need? Okay, so let's say it's Arthur.
Okay.
Talk about Arthur.
Arthur. Right, he's...
In Series 1.
In Series 1, he's quite a... He's got his ups and downs in terms of his mental state.
Yeah.
He's probably suffering from PTSD or a mental illness of that ilk because of what he's seen and done in the war. He's definitely the loose cannon of the group. You know, at some point in the last year, I mentioned to Nick that I think that Tommy and Arthur are kind of like the Cratons in that.
They are, and they're kind of like the Corleones. If you look at Mike or I don't know is it Corleone or Corleone?
I say Corleone, but I don't know. That's just the. I'm just trying to say it with an Italian accent.
Well, they're like the brothers in The Godfather. If you think of Tommy as Tommy has his similarities to both Michael and Vito. I think more Vito, who is of course Sonny's father, but Sonny, if you haven't seen The Godfather, is he's the oldest brother, as is Arthur, and he is short-tempered. He is very violent. There's a wonderful scene in the first film where he beats up a guy with a metal, they're called trash cans in the States, of course, which is quite spectacular, isn't it?
It's a great scene.
Yeah. Touch her again and I'll kill you.
Yes.
That was the one. If you go near Corleone sister person again, I'll kill you. Kay? Is it Kay? No, Kay's his wife.
No, Kay's Michael's wife. Yeah. It's Connie.
Connie, of course. But yes, Michael is... Yeah, he's kind of like the gang's mad dog, like Mr. Blonde in Reservoir Dogs. He's Sonny Corleone. He's Ronnie Craig.
Yes. Ronnie Craig was the one with the glasses to quite something to mine.
Identical to yours. Freddie, I know it's the same glasses.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Arthur is... Because the show's set post-war and they talk a lot about the war, it's important to have a character who is as damaged as Arthur, which is even more so than Tommy, who we do know is a bit disturbed during this time in the war. And we've got Danny Whizbang as well. But Arthur, we know, is someone who probably deep down has a good heart, but comes across in the first 2 series as a real bastard. And I think in Series 1, it's maybe overplayed a tiny little bit when he's going to hang himself. I thought that him reciting the Lord's Prayer was a little too much. So
Jesus is now a player in the 21st century sense in your head.
Yes. Yeah, well, he must have been. Girls like beards and sandals, don't they?
And long hair. Girls have long hair, generally speaking.
No, they like...
Well, it's more... I mean, back to probabilities that... I'm not calling Jesus a girl, but, you know. I was saying that there's similarity with...
We are not saying anything to demean, to mock the Lord and Saviour. We're not poking fun at any members of the Christian community who are listening. Please don't think that. I realise how that sounded. Polly. Well, yeah. No, Arthur. We're still talking about Arthur.
We are. Yes.
Jesus, guys, stop listening to us. We're amateurs. I think it's when he recites the Lord's Prayer, it's a little bit melodramatic, but he's a very interesting guy, and I didn't like him in the first 2 series, and changed my mind in the third. We'll get to that when we get to series 3.
Yes.
So we'll talk about Molly. No, not Molly. Polly, Grace, and Campbell.
Yes.
Then we'll move on to and other things to do with series 1, if we can think of them.
Yes.
And then we'll move on to series 2.
Yes. So
Polly.
Yes. She's fiercely loyal.
She is.
Quite strong-willed. She fancied herself as the head of the family during the... She was
the head of the family when the boys were away in France.
Yes.
And I think she's a very cool person. She's kind of like... Because I've kind of got the impression that she was maybe their mother's younger sister. So she's like halfway between mum and sister and aunt and every other female relative for them, really. Except wife, because that would be weird.
Yes.
But she's the only person who can really stand up to Tommy.
That is a weird thought.
What's that? Freddy? Hello? This is an audio medium. Will you talk?
Sorry, my mind went wandering a bit.
Were you thinking about beer?
No, actually.
No.
We should go to the pub tomorrow.
I expect we should, but
yes.
Peaky Blinders.
Yes, back to Peaky Blinders. Yes, Polly. Are we still talking about Polly?
We are. Well, she has the best introduction of any of the characters. I mean, Tommy is pretty cool when he's on the horse. He's like, the girl who tells fortunes. But Polly is introduced when it's not Michael, it's either John or Finn. It's John, walks down the alleyway. Polly points a gun at him. We don't know who she is, and she's chastising him for leaving it out because his kid brother was playing with it.
Yes.
And he was just leaving it on the kitchen table or something, which is as big a blend of the sort of family drama and family story and the vicious crime depicted in the show. That's a perfect example of the two blending into one. It's sort of like in The Godfather. Take the gun, leave the cannoli. No, it's the other way around. Leave the gun, take the cannoli. It's perfect. And
so that guy, whose name I can't remember...
It's Luca Brasi, isn't it?
No, it's not. Luca Brasi is killed in the bar. It's the
guy who makes pasta.
Paulie. Yeah. Paulie...
Not Salazzo.
Gatto.
Is it?
That's the guy who gets killed. Clemenza is the guy who says the...
Clemenza's the fat one. Yeah,
yes.
So he's the one who says the line, and he's the one who makes the pasta.
Yes,
we should make Godfather-style pasta one day.
Yes.
Like Clemenza's recipe, how he describes it. We'll let you know how that goes.
Yes, it's the recipe my dad uses, but he didn't get it from The Godfather.
My respect for your dad has risen even further. The first time I met Freddie's dad, he bought me 2 pints of Spitfire.
Yes.
That was nice, wasn't it? That was a fun trip.
It was.
That was the first ever episode of Overcranked was going to be recorded that trip, which was in
it
London.
Was.
Then that sort of didn't happen.
We were going to do it as a kind of TV
We
thing
were.
back then.
Anyway, we were thinking about filming ourselves, but anyway, back to Peaky Blinders.
Yes.
Polly is... She has a line where she says to, I think it's... What's his name? Freddie Thorne,
yes.
Who is the
communist,
the sister's boyfriend and the communist. I think it's Polly who says, "I'm twice the man you are" to him, and she is, and that's no slight against Freddie Thorne. He is a sort of, I got this. If you don't mind diverging from Polly for a moment,
go for it.
He seems almost like a sort of analogue to Tommy. Like he's Tommy's best mate in school. First time we see him, they sat in the pub next to each other. And he's a leader of men in the same way Tommy is.
Yes, he is. Very nice football.
I've always got that. It seems like they're around the same age, maybe.
Tommy, was it Tommy who saved his life?
No, it was the other way around. Freddie took a bullet for Tommy. You actually see that in the flashback.
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
Yes, you do.
Freddie Thorne, he wasn't written out of the show because they didn't need him. The actor had to leave for something. He had another commitment. That's why he's written out, and that's why he dies at the start of Series 2. And I'd be interested to see how the show would be different and how important a person Freddie Thorne would be if he was still around.
I have a feeling he was going to be a fairly important.
Yeah.
Given the relationship and
yeah,
past.
well, he's because he's in the communist gang. Some of the stuff that the Lee family do, because Tommy marries John into the Lees. Maybe Freddie Thorne would be doing, and his communist group.
Yeah.
If they didn't have the Lees, but I'm glad we do see the Lees, because the leader of the Lees, whose name escapes me, he's the guy in series 3 when Tommy comes out of hospital. He's the first guy to go and see Tommy. Not so tall, dark hair. He's after Tommy's wife gets killed. He's the one who goes off to find the crazy lady with him.
Oh yeah,
that guy.
The Russian.
No.
That's I'm talking about the lady.
Yeah.
That may be
no, he's not finding the Russian woman, Tatiana. He's finding the gypsy fortune teller.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, he goes off with the Lees, or that Lee, and I think anyway, that's a way of identifying him. I really like him, and I'm glad he's in it as much as he is, which isn't that much actually, but he's quite funny.
Yeah.
But it will be interesting to see to hear what we're never going to get the writers of this show in a room on Overcranked. But if we could say, what would it be like if Freddie Thorne was still around? We'd like to hear that.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe there'll be an interview or somewhere in the dark beaches depths. Yes, somewhere.
Maybe on the dark web.
Yes, on the dark side of the internet. I think we've kind of said I've said as much as what I can. Maybe that's why we're going off on random tangents.
It's not relevant yet, but there's something that Polly does. Well, there's a couple of things that Polly does in later series that I'm both happy about and in one case not so much about. But I'm looking forward to talking about Polly when we get to series 2, because she gets in series 1 her big confrontation with Grace, which is pretty cool.
She does.
And she, you'd think she'd be ready to kill Grace when they have that confrontation in the garrison. And Polly's got, it's not even a gun, she's got a hairpin out, but it's really long and pointy. Well, of course it's pointy, it's a pin, it's very long, like a weapon. Yep.
I've read something about Polly in series 1.
Yes.
She also tries to get, I believe, what's the sister called? Married.
Ada.
Yes. Ada to reconsider having a baby, does she not? Or did I
remember. Ada has the baby.
Yes.
So maybe Polly tries to get her to get an abortion.
Yeah.
I can't remember. It's been a while since I saw series 1. I watched it intermittently over the last few weeks, possibly months now. But I've seen it a few times, so I can remember it a bit better than the other two. But anyway, Polly she's fantastic, isn't she?
Yes, fantastic.
Helen McCrory is a fantastic actress in that role. I don't know much about what she's done outside of this, but she is, like, Polly is someone who holds her own in a world in a culture, 100 years ago, there was even more sexism in the world, unfortunately, than there is now. And she's in a profession where guys are ruled by bravado. And is that recording? Because the volume's down.
It should be.
Excellent. Let's hope it is.
Yes. Yeah.
I
hope
we'll find out at the end.
I hope it's recording.
God, me too.
We've been recording for 25 minutes, which is our best.
Yes, it is. We hadn't got this far trying to do this episode without fucking up by now. I think 20 minutes was the longest we got.
Yeah.
But yeah, Polly is fantastic. She lives in a world and is in a job where, well, yes, the job she does is one in which men are constantly trying to look tougher than one another, and she is tougher than all of them.
Yeah.
She's pretty fantastic. She will be discussed in series 3. What do we have to say? Grace.
Grace.
I said. Oh, sorry. Go on, Freddie.
Grace. What forgot to say about Grace? Well, I certainly didn't expect her to be an undercover agent.
Mm-hmm. No.
No.
I can't. I must confess, I can't remember what I first thought when I saw her introduced in the show. because it was almost 2 years ago I first watched it. But you must think. Let us know if you can remember what you think.
Yes.
If you thought there was something off about her before you find out.
We have... Sorry.
No, go on.
We have Twitter, we have Facebook, we have the YouTube comments section, which is probably going to... Well, from what I gather, it is a dark place too.
Oh, God, YouTube comment sections. Please, guys, we're going to tell you now, if you care enough to comment on our ramblings, don't get all hating on each other and comparing people to Nazis and saying you know fucking nothing about TV, you prick, or whatever fucking people do say on YouTube comment sections. Don't bother with us. We want Overcranked to be a place of happiness, and the occasional what? You're just looking at me funny.
Swear at each other.
Oh yes, but that's bound to happen to you and I. Yes, don't bother arguing with each other. Just what's the point? Please, if you're gonna comment, make it happy and respect other people's opinions, and try and have lively discussions that don't become heated. But we encourage discussion, and debate, not argument.
Yes.
But yeah, let us know what you thought, because I can't remember thinking. I can't remember what I thought of Grace when I watched the first episode, but when you watch it now, the first time she's introduced, which is beautiful, it's a wonderful shot. It's a shot down a street of terrace houses on either side. Everything is grey, bar Grace, who is in
a green,
really light green hat, dress, jacket. It's spectacular.
Yes.
So there's sort of this weird sort of fairy tale music, and you've got to know there's something up with her. But I can't remember what I thought. You say you can.
I just thought she was an Irish immigrant looking for work. It was just as simple as that.
I can't remember. Maybe I didn't think there was anything up. Maybe I'm not as on the ball as I think I am.
I'm definitely not as on the ball. It took me a while to... You know what? Have we discussed that? Or I can't remember.
What?
It's what I thought Spectre was going to turn out to be before it got released.
You thought it was going to be a remake of On Her Majesty's Secret
Not
Service.
a word-for-word remake. A reimagining, modernisation type thing.
Yeah.
But if not...
If we didn't talk about that in the Spectre episode, we might bother one day, because we're probably going to do James Bond, right?
Oh, yeah.
Excellent. I think I've completely forgotten what I was saying is what I think. Freddie? Mayday. What were we talking about?
In terms of characters... Grace!
I said in one of the previous attempts to record this episode that I thought Series 1, if the show had never come back for a second series, and if Series 1 was a sort of standalone story, like a mini-series, it could be interpreted as a love story.
I kind of
story,
think
certainly a story of... it is. It is. There is a love story as a sort of undercurrent. Or maybe it's the major story of this sort of multiple plot thread series. But it could... I think if it was a standalone show, or a standalone series, it would be looked at as the love story was the centre of the story and everything else was just backdrop. And it would be seen as a story about jealousy and of how jealousy consumes you or something, because Campbell tries to kill her at the end.
Yes.
And you would come away from that thinking he'd killed her, because that's what it looks like at the end of the first series.
Yeah, especially given you only hear one shot.
Well, it's Grace who shoots.
Yeah, but I mean, you don't see that until Series 2, do you?
No, you don't. Sorry, I misunderstood what you meant. But yes, I quite like Grace. I think it's quite cool that, because we know she's a spy, but she's quite she's not like Polly, who is quite tough just from meeting her. Grace sort of hides it quite well. And then when we see her in later series, she's a bit softer and sort of softer around the edges. But we know she's a soldier, which is quite cool. I mean, Polly even says to Grace in Series 3, I haven't forgotten what you are, even if they have. I think it's quite cool that she's someone who is a match for Tommy, because they're both they're both soldiers.
Yeah, definitely. Now, Campbell.
The best character. The best character. The worst person, except possibly Paddy Constantine, but the best written character.
Oh, yeah.
He's evil, isn't he, Campbell?
Bastard. I know I use that word fairly frequently in a jovial way, but in this case, bastard. He's evil. Not the traditional religious bastard, but the just insult.
Freddie really doesn't like him.
Yeah.
When I first saw the show, in the pilot, in the first episode, there's that scene where he's talking to the police and he's saying, not lead by example, he's saying, I don't want you to take bribes from the gangs, you're my men now, and da-da-da. And that reminded me of Kevin Costner's lead by example speech in The Untouchables.
That's a great
And I remember thinking, I think it's probably supposed to remind you of that, but I remember thinking, he's going to turn out to be alright. And I think you were supposed to think that. Maybe it's a guess. Maybe you were supposed to think that.
I thought that at the same time, in the exact same scene as well.
I remember you saying to me, because we watched the first series together. I'd seen it before, and Freddie kept saying to me, "Campbell's really not that bad." No, Freddie, you just wait. He gets so bad, and he shows his colours when with the mallets and spades thing.
That's in episode
4 or 5, he's saying to Tommy, help me or I'll make sure your brothers are all killed horrifically and I'll send your kid brother to where the paedophiles are in prison. He's evil, isn't he?
Yeah.
Like there's a scene where he goes to a prostitute and it's very rigorous and she's in tears at the end. And we know he's capable of rape because he rapes Polly later on, but it almost sort of seems like he's raped her, and maybe that's what he gets off on. But it's almost like he's taking out his rage at Tommy against her, because he seems quite angry when it's happening. But that's
what Campbell is.
That's what he's like. Yeah, yes. I couldn't think of anything to say. Then he's a nasty guy, isn't he? Who do you prefer? Actually, we'll get onto that when we talk series 3.
Okay.
But I think Campbell, he didn't. I thought he was going to turn out right. He didn't. I don't know, but we'll talk about that when we get to series 3. Yes. But he's an evil, evil person, and he makes my skin crawl. Like, his best scene is in series 2 when he gets reintroduced to Tommy, and he's like, "See if the bastard's still alive." Played by Dr. Alan Grant himself, Sam Neill.
I like the first Jurassic Park.
I've only seen it all the way through once, but I liked it too. I didn't see it when I was a kid, so some of the magic was lost on me.
Same here. Well, I saw it when I was about 14, first time I saw it, so, maybe
Jurassic Park, we'll probably do an episode on those one day, maybe, who knows?
Maybe.
If something.
Yes.
Yeah, why? Sure.
Yes.
Yes, no, maybe. No, yes.
We'll see what our schedule's like and then...
We haven't got a schedule, Freddie. Don't lie to the listener. You can't see now, but he's shushing me. He's got his finger up to his mouth.
Yes.
And now he's picking his nose. And now he's poked himself in the eye. Now he's trying to pierce his ear with fingernail. It's not good, Freddie. Ah! I don't know this guy, listeners. I'm here at gunpoint. Anyway. Peaky Blinders Series 1. My favourite series. And I'll tell you why. We said at the start, this is when they're sort of working class gangsters. And I like it when they're not really rich because they're underdogs. And they need help from other sort of smaller gangs. Like Kimber in Series 1 is where Tommy ends up being in Series 2 and 3.
Yeah,
Tommy, he operates out of a pub in Series 1. And he doesn't have his own, like, the major league gangs, if you like Kimber owns a racetrack.
It's either a racetrack, a racehorse, a monopoly of race horses.
But something. Tommy doesn't have as much property as the other mobsters do. He gets a lot of his money from protection, racketeering. We see the change in that in toward the end of series 1, like when he gets his first betting license, and when he starts working with Kimber. Working with Kimber seems like his big step up from Robert De Niro to Marlon Brando. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I do miss this change is even addressed in series 2. Or it might be series 3 by Moss, the copper.
Oh yeah, the one who
works on the Campbell.
Yeah.
The boys are sent to take some pubs, and Tommy by then is sort of above pubs, but Moss just says, I think he enjoys the sport. And the sport, as he puts it, which is like the fighting, like when they fight with the Lees, the start of episode 2. I really like that stuff when they're sort of scrabbling for power, instead of being these emperors. But yeah, thoughts on series 1, Frederick?
I think it's great. I like the way it slowly builds and then it kind of explodes.
How do you mean?
Well, in terms of you hear not necessarily whispers, but chatter about the family trying to get their first legal post at a racetrack.
Yeah.
And they get that at the end of episode 5.
With that wonderful... Is it all one shot?
I think it is, yeah.
I think in one of our 3 other attempts to record this episode, we talked about that shot. That was your favourite moment of series 1, wasn't it?
Yes, yeah.
I think mine, because we're doing that now, favourite moment of series 1. I'm going to say when Tommy... it's not the answer I gave in the previous failed recordings, but as I'll say, when Tommy fakes Danny Whizbang's death.
Oh, that's a very good shout.
Because it's... Of course, when you see it, you think, oh, maybe it's... Oh, God, when you see it happen, you think, oh, God, he's... Well, it doesn't make you judge Tommy. It makes you think, Christ, this is a nasty business. Sometimes crime is sort of glamorised, and it is a bit in this show. But it's like, oh, God, yes, they do have to do really bad things. This is like if Don Corleone had to kill Luca Brasi or something. We're going to be talking about a lot about The Godfather.
Yeah.
One, because we absolutely love it.
Yes.
And also, it is a big influence on the show. We'll get to that later. But then when Danny comes back, you see him come out of the boat toward the end. You realise that Tommy is quite good, and he's a better person than maybe a lot of mobsters, which again we've already discussed. And he's got some brains on him to fake the shooting. But I quite like it's hardly worth mentioning, but Danny's sort of he comes out of the boat and he stood on the boat and it's going down the canal and it's like he's sailing back up the River Styx to join the living world again, which is kind of something or other.
When I first watched the very first episode, I thought the apparent assassination of the aforementioned Mr. Whizbang was going to be the end of that episode.
How does the first episode end? Because that would have been a good ending, just that gunshot.
Yeah.
We can't remember. Tweet in at us.
Please,
or something.
tweet in, Facebook us.
And don't...
Call us.
Yeah, no, don't call us.
Find our phone numbers.
No.
Why not?
Silence! You don't want you don't want one person who you don't know with our phone numbers? Chris Frost has your phone number.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
I didn't tell you about this.
No.
Chris Frost is a guy we know. You know what? It doesn't matter. Maybe he's listening to this. Hey, Chris.
Hello.
You've got better things to do. Like, call us. But go away. No, don't go away. Stay there. You might be our one listener. He probably isn't.
Oh, well.
Anyway. Favourite character in Series 1? In Series 1.
In Series 1. Tommy.
Yeah. I think I want to say the same. I'm torn between Tommy and Polly for my favourite character of any series or in a show. Oh, well, there's someone who comes in later who I don't like them, but I'm interested in them.
Is that...
That's who you think it is.
Okay.
I don't know. I think I'm gonna say Tommy as well because he's the most developed person.
Yeah.
It would be. He's the main character.
Yeah.
But I do like Polly.
Ooh,
I think she's pretty great. All right.
Well,
Series 2.
Series 2. Better. I think it's better than Series... Well, is it better than Series 1? It's kind of... I can't choose between it being consistent or an improvement. Because it's definitely not worse.
I think it retains quality all the way through the show. Like in Series 3, it's just as good. It's not to my, pardon me, taste so much because I like the when they're lower down on the ladder. But it hasn't lost its quality at all, has it?
It does have the occasional spike in episode.
It never has a dip. It just has a spike. Yeah. That's a good way of putting it.
And Series 2. I am a fan of the expansion down to London. Although I don't know if that's because they go to Camden, and that's probably my second favourite part of London.
What's your other favourite part?
Arsenal.
Duh. Arsenal's most likely going to get talked a lot about on this show. One of us loves football, and the other one's me. But I think Series 2 is very good. It seems... in Series 1, they're expanding to racetracks. And in Series 2 has, in my opinion, to be the best episode of the show. And the only one that stands out in my head, other than one in Series 3, that I can clearly remember exactly what happened. Because each series is more like a film, isn't it?
Yeah.
And Series 2 has got one of the only 2 episodes that stands out in my head as an episode, and I remember exactly what happens. But it's got some changes. Freddy has died at the start of the series.
Not me, Freddy. Fictional.
Yeah, Freddy Thorne. It begins with his funeral, does it not? After the revelation.
Yes, it does.
Grace Shook Campbell.
Yes.
Yep.
If one of us was to die while we do this, I don't mean during the actual recording, but just, let's say, during the planned episode, I think we should report it. Fuss. I've got some news to tell you. X has died.
I don't think we should address it. If one of us dies...
Anyway.
If one of us dies while we're still making the show, the other one will just do the other person's voice for the rest of the show. So I would impersonate Freddy. Freddy would impersonate me. And if you ever hear a one-man show with 2 different voices from us, it's because
one of us has
Freddy's
died.
finally snapped and killed me.
Or I've died of an alcohol-related illness.
You don't drink as much as you think you do.
I'm not saying I do, but...
Series 2.
Series 2.
They go down to London.
Yes,
and they move from pubs, like in cellars, to taking nightclubs, don't they?
Yes, and bakeries. I don't know why I'm doing the air quotation marks, given no one can see this.
I can see it, Freddie.
Good point.
Thank you. Series 2 does, yes, as Freddie said, it's got the expansion to London. It's got the introduction of a character who is in a lot of the promotion for the show, but is barely in it. And that is one of the best performances in the show, which is saying a lot. And that's Tom Hardy as Alfie fucking Solomons.
I think he does the same voice he used for Bonnie Cray in Legend.
Similar.
Yeah.
Yeah. I came here for a shootout like in a fucking western. Anyway, Series 2, other than the... I was talking about Series 2, how it's got the episode that is one of the few in my head that stands out as an episode that I can remember. The reason for that... The reason I mentioned that episode is because it's the final episode of that series, and they're expanding to the racetracks again. I think it's the best episode of the whole show, but it's a little unimaginative, maybe, that it was racetracks in Series 1 and then racetracks in Series 2.
Ooh. Possibly. Yeah. Yeah.
Freddy, you're nodding. They can't see you.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, I get that.
Right, in Series 3, it's something else entirely. But, well, what they're doing in Series 3 they couldn't have done in Series 2 because it's set up at the end of Series 2. So,
Yeah.
But they could have, I don't know, maybe been doing something else. It could have been something to do with the distillery.
Yeah.
Where the best scene takes place. Fill it out and fuck off.
Fill it out and fuck off. Fill it out and fuck off.
Yeah, it's kind of a shame, but then again, it does introduce a new character for Tommy, a new love interest. Oh, who we'll get back to later.
Oh yes.
So Tommy in Series 2, at the start, he's quite a cold guy. Like Grace really burned him. We see like he's quite disconnected. He's
got a predilection for prostitutes, if I remember rightly.
Yeah, you're right. Actually, I think it's Lizzie, but Polly.
That's her name. It is Lizzie.
It is. Polly mentions to him. She says a line at some point in the Series 2 opener. She was just a woman, Thomas, and he's clearly burned by what happened to Grace still after all that time. And I have to go back and rewatch it, but you sort of get the impression he's throwing himself into his work because he's got nothing else that he's really interested in. And he's sort of, but by the time we get to Series 2, he's expanded the business. Like they're all there in their sort of big fancy suits and the big cars they've got at the funeral, and Ada doesn't see much of them. You sort of get that impression. Is she living in London?
Ada
the sister.
Ada. She's definitely not part of the family, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember. I know they definitely buy her a big house, but prior to that, I can't remember.
But anyway, yeah, Tommy in Series 2 is quite something. There's probably a
disheartened.
I don't know what are we trying to say about Tommy?
We're trying to say that he's become
a bit pissed off with Grace. Yeah, he's a broken man. Perfect. And that changes by the end of Series 2. He knows he's going to get married to Grace. He has
very exciting.
Expanded the business again.
Yes, successfully again.
Yep, he's working with Solomons now, and
everything
someone
seems
else.
fairly
There's someone. Who's the guy in Series 2?
The Italian.
The Italian. Who is a real person.
Darby Sabini.
Sabini. He's Sabini doesn't get killed, does he? He just gets arrested. I think he just gets arrested anyway.
About a month ago.
Tommy has taken over Sabini's business by the end of Series 2. He's got this wonderful office in the because where they did have their sort of illegal bookmaking business is now the Shelby offices. Tommy has an amazing office that's modelled after Vito's office in The Godfather, and where the last scene of the series takes place.
It does.
Where he says, "I'm also planning." Can't do a Brummy accent. He says, "I'm also planning on getting married." In that wonderful shot where it follows Tommy and he walks around the desk, sort of stands behind the camera, moves to one side of Michael and does a 360 or a 180 around the desk. And things are in a very good place for Tommy by the end of Series 2, but the complete opposite to that at the start.
Yes.
Series 2, Arthur.
Go. Is Series 2 when he accidentally punches that kid to death?
That would be it, yes.
Yes. He's developing slightly. Maybe he's getting a bit better, but he's still got some low parts. Like when the accidental death is one, and another is when is it Finn who offers him some cocaine?
Yeah, it's cocaine. They call it Tokyo, don't they?
Yeah.
I think Arthur is at his most broken in Series 2. I think he feels betrayed after their dad showed up. And did he steal some money or something?
Yeah. Or he lied and then that's how he got the money or something.
And that upset Arthur. And Arthur is, I would imagine, in the same way that Grace burned Tommy, their father burned Arthur. So at the start of series 2, he's in a very bad place in his life, and there is a scene in the boxing club where, he punches a kid to death, and he becomes really very unlikable. And I remember kind of wishing he would get killed. Or he reminded me, or no, not now, because I hadn't seen this show when I saw Peaky Blinders, but there is a character in Walking Dead who is around for a while. I'm not saying when they're in the show, but Arthur, had I seen Walking Dead first, then seen Peaky Blinders, I would have thought Arthur was going to turn out like this person in Walking Dead. They didn't. Arthur is able to reinvent himself in Series 3, and he's more redeemed. But he gets pretty nasty in Series 2, doesn't he?
Yeah.
But he does have that wonderful line, "This club is under new management by order of the Peaky Blinders." Or is it Peaky fucking Blinders?
I like to think it's Peaky fucking Blinders.
It sounds more like Arthur,
it's got more...
It's got a better ring to it.
Yeah.
Actually, it hasn't.
No, it does.
It sounds more Arthur-like.
It's what I... If I was in...
If you're a psychotic mobster...
Yeah. I'll say Peaky fucking Blinders.
Okay. So when we eventually start our crime family, after we've started the bar and started the band...
On the subject of the bar, we have got our own brewing stuff.
We have. You still owe me the money for that.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, Frederick and I and our other housemate Jake.
Hello, Jake.
Hello, Freddie. Have bought some brewing kit, which is not relevant to Peaky Blinders.
No, it's not.
What were we saying about Peaky Blinders? Arthur. Nasty.
Polly.
This is
the most interesting character of Series 2.
To shine. Two very important things happen to Polly in Series 2. The first, Peaky Blinders, right?
Yes.
Do you mind if I have your chair?
Go for it.
I've stolen Freddie's chair. He wasn't sat on it.
No.
Peaky Blinders features lots of characters that believe in... that have different religious beliefs.
Yes.
And Polly's a gypsy, and I don't know if there is a religion tied to that. Please forgive our ignorance. We're not trying to offend anybody. We don't want to offend anybody. We just know very little about the subject matter. Polly seems to have some belief in some deity or supernatural force that's connected to her gypsy beliefs, because she goes to a fortune teller who I think is a gypsy, and Polly says she's had a dream about a woman and describes her, and this fortune teller says, that's your daughter. But Peaky Blinders is like another show, or one particular show I'm thinking of is Blue Bloods, where the characters have a particular faith, and in this case they follow whatever practice Polly does as a gypsy, and the show kind of suggests maybe that's real, because Polly goes to the fortune teller because of her dream, and finds out that around the time she had her dream, her daughter died. And the woman sort of vaguely describes the daughter like she could be, like Polly sees her, and says that her son is alive, which it turns out that he is, and isn't that far away. I guess he can't, because Tommy is able to find him. Yeah. When Tommy meets the mother, or the stepmother, the foster mother, he introduces himself as from birth. Anyway, that's not important. But yeah, Peaky Blinders, like Blue Bloods, in which the family are very heavily Christian. I think they're Catholics. That suggests that God definitely exists, which is questioned in fiction. I'm not saying he doesn't. That's not for me to decide. We're not a religious show.
We aren't Richard Dawkins.
No, we're entertainment based. We're about media. We're not here to discuss whether or not one's beliefs are right. But in Blue Bloods and in Peaky Blinders, it's suggested to the audience that whatever the character's religious beliefs are definitely true, and I think I like that. I don't know if I believe in God or not. I'd be lying if I said I haven't prayed before. Yeah, I kind of like this idea that they suggest that the character's beliefs are correct. I couldn't place my finger on why, but I do. I think it's sort of interesting. It's a bit different, certainly with Polly's beliefs that are less mainstream than ours. Yeah. But anyway,
yes,
Polly has a hell of a season.
She does.
She finds out her daughter's died. Reunites with her son.
Hooray!
Maybe. We don't know about Michael, do we?
At the time, and up to now, hooray? Question mark?
Yes, I think that's the correct way to put that. And then she is assaulted by Campbell, who has what I think we discussed this.
Yeah.
If we didn't on a previous attempt to record this, we've discussed it ourselves. Campbell, I think, thinks he's in. I don't think because love is something you associate with good people in fiction, like in Harry Potter, for example. You don't know if maybe Campbell isn't capable of love, but Campbell thinks he's in love with Polly and thinks she's attracted to him.
Yeah.
And he thinks they have a moment where they connect, where he forces her against a car, and she's raped by him in the penultimate. Well, it is rape. The scenario is, I think, if Campbell says, "If you have sex with me, I'll let your son out of prison or out of custody."
Yeah.
But it is rape, really. But Polly gets him back. She's the one to kill him, to slay Campbell the dragon.
In
she
the
shoots
last
him,
episode, shoots him in a telephone box. I remember.
I think it was a telephone box, wasn't it?
Yes, at Epsom Races, which is quite close to where I live, actually.
Oh yeah.
I've been there 2 or 3 times, not to see racing, but.
Campbell finally got what was coming to him. There is. I think Campbell is. There is no disputing that he's an awful human being. But I think he really believes in, like, he wants to get rid of the IRA, he wants to do things for the government. I think Campbell really believes in what he's doing. There's his introduction scene in Series 2. A spy who works for him has been arrested and was told he would get a last-minute pardon from Campbell.
Yeah.
Campbell turns up and says, "I've got no idea who he is." So Campbell's lying to his agents and not rescuing them. And I think Campbell's doing that really for security, to protect the nation, for whatever so that the police won't question who this guy is and think, if he's working for Campbell and they know Campbell's in the military or whatever. Yeah, Freddie. Sorry, I've gone on too long.
I don't think Campbell most of the. No, I don't think any of the characters in the first 2 series can be given a label of being. I think they're all grey, if you know what I mean, because like you said with Campbell, yes, he rapes Polly and threatens to put Tommy's brother into the pot of prison with pedophiles, but he does, as you said, believe in stopping the IRA, etc.
I don't think Campbell has enough. It is possible that he just wants to stop the IRA for his job, but I wouldn't want to, because of the terrible things he does. I don't think there's enough in him to be labelled grey. I think he's pure evil. I think he's bad to the bone. I think it's. You can talk about, well, no one's truly good or evil if you George R.R. Martin, or if you look at some of the stuff that goes on, like some of the characters in Breaking Bad, do both very good and bad things. But I don't think Campbell has any definitely good traits. There's nothing about him that we know proves he really has a conscience of any kind. And that, for that reason, I would call him evil. If you think of, I don't know, sort of like D&D, I think you've got sort of 4 on a D&D timeline of bad, little bit good, angelic good, whatever it's called. Campbell is is at zero. He's evil. He doesn't have any definitely good things about him, whereas Tommy does. Tommy cares about his family. Tommy saves Grace from being assaulted by Campbell. Tommy reunites Michael with Polly, and Tommy has romantic attractions to people and is pleasant in his own way. He saves Danny Whizbang.
Yeah, true.
I don't think Campbell can be called grey if you think that somebody like Tommy is also grey. I think it's a term that's overused. Like Walter White, I'm going to get a lot of grief for this. I think Walter White is evil. I think the bad things he does outweigh the good.
Bear in mind, I haven't seen all of Breaking Bad.
Oh yeah, well maybe we'll do an episode on that one day.
Yes.
Who knows? Don't just because we say during an episode, maybe we'll do an episode on that. Don't.
It doesn't mean
we will.
Yeah.
But we're definitely going to do a certain
we need to decide what we're doing next.
Yeah, we do. We'll think of something.
Yes.
But not Breaking Bad, because you won't be able to watch them all.
Not in a week. No, I've got too much to watch in a week. Yeah.
We could do like one of the Marvel Netflix shows, or we could do Stranger Things.
Yes.
Let's do Stranger Things next week.
Yes.
Okay.
I will watch it just because there's no football because it's boring in the international break.
I'll watch it.
Excellent. So
anyway, tune in next week for Stranger
Things.
Yes,
next week.
Same bad time, same bad channel.
Yes. Nice.
Thank you. Right, what we've said, Polly. We've talked about Campbell. He's the same as ever, but worse, isn't he? He's working for MI5 now.
Yes, he is.
He's working
not the
for
police.
Winston Churchill.
Yes, no less.
Actually, I think he might be for sort of in series 1, but he recruits Tommy, doesn't he, to assassinate a soldier at Derby Day. I love that ending scene where Tommy's taken off to be executed, and then one of them saves him. He's like, "Mr. Churchill will be in touch with you personally." I think it's forgive me accent. I think it's a shame that Churchill wasn't in series 3, and we never get to see them interact face to face.
I don't think he's in series 2 either.
He is.
Is he?
Yeah, different actor, but he's in series 2.
Oh, okay.
I think series 2 is when Campbell goes to see him. He's like, "I like your hat. It's beaver, sir." All right. We've talked. Oh, bloody hell! What's her name? The
racehorse owner, trainer.
Yeah. Would you look her up? Okay.
Yes.
Season 2 presents a new romantic interest for Tommy. At first, when you're watching the show, the audience, because their audiences know how films and TV work, so we know straight away that she's going to be tough. Or I did watching it. But Tommy, when he first meets her, thinks she's just a sort of rich daddy's girl who wants to be around a gangster because they're glamorous and exciting. Maybe he thinks of her kind of like I think some people did of Bonnie. What's her surname? Bonnie and Clyde Bonnie. It was Clyde Barlow and something else. Anyway, yeah, I quite liked her. Not as much as Grace. But it was interesting seeing, whereas Grace was a definite match for Tommy because she was a soldier, she was part of the life that Tommy was trying to get into because he wants to turn legitimate and he wants to be very rich. And I believe her family business, both of those things. And she likes horses, which we know Tommy likes, like Polly mentions in series 1 before the war. Tommy wanted to work with series. Is it Charlotte's with horses? Is it Charlotte something, Freddie?
Charlotte Wiley is the actress.
Okay.
May Carlton.
May Carlton, that's the name of this one.
Yes.
And yeah, but we find out later on when she's not afraid of Tommy that she is, if not as obviously as Grace, she is a match for him. I think she'd cope with being in a relationship with this mobster because she's not scared of what he does. She might be coming back.
I think she will, but we'll talk about that a bit
when we get to series 3. Okay.
Which, we're nearly at series 3,
aren't
we?
Favourite
moment in series 2.
Oh, series 2 introduces Michael. I called Michael as soon as I saw him as he's either going to be Tommy's successor, or I think he might. And I'm not someone who usually comes up with loads of stupid theories before something is released or before announced, but I think he might kill Tommy. Or succeed in, like, Tommy might be grooming him for command.
However, we have heard what the last scene's going to be.
We have.
And that involves Tommy alive.
Indeed it does. Unless Tommy's a zombie.
No.
That was a very judgy look I just got. You guys couldn't see it, but that was very, like, a kid who was just walked into the house with a tortured cat. Like, what are you doing, kid? Not that I ever did that as a kid. I don't have the balls to torture a cat. Why are we talking about torturing animals? Jesus Christ. Stop listening to us. We're idiots. Okay. Favourite moment in Series 2?
Ooh, the entirety of Episode 6.
I think that is very justifiable. I think Episode 6 is the best episode of the show. Pick a moment.
Alright. The very last scene of Episode 5, where Tommy gets his mission. I had goosebumps the first time I watched that.
Remind me.
He's in
he just sits down. It's like Epsom Derby Day.
Yeah.
I remember that, because he announces it to the family, doesn't he? Or to someone.
I think it's to someone, yeah.
It's probably Polly. Who can remember?
Yeah.
Oh God, if I've got to pick one moment, I loved the open of Series 2 where we discovered Grace is alive. I liked Grace's return. Anything with Michael in, because I don't like Michael, but I think he's very interesting, and I can't wait to see where he goes. But the best moment for Series 2 for me, even topping the Tommy's miraculous rescue, is the death of Campbell, and the fact that Polly gets to do it. Polly, who has more reason than any of them, which is really saying something, to do it, gets to do it, and she gets away with it. Well, we know what happened at the end of Series 3, but she seemingly gets away with it. She shoots him, the crowded place, just walks away, and he knows she's done it.
Yeah.
Oh God, he is a piece of slime. To me, it makes my skin crawl. So I was very glad to see the end of him. And yes, I think Polly deserved to do it more than any of them.
Fair enough.
And I think that's. I don't know if it's the best moment in the show. Having said it's my favourite moment in what I think is the best episode of the show, but it's certainly one to remember. Favourite Series 2 character?
Michael.
Polly. Okay. So Series 3.
Changes.
Turn and face the strange. Sorry.
No, carry on, please.
You don't want to hear me singing. We'll lose our one listener.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Who may or may not be Chris Frost.
There are.
I hope you're listening, Chris. You're a good guy.
Yes, you are.
I just gave you the thumbs up, but you can't see.
Yes, and so am I.
Anyway.
Of the changes in Series 3, there's the...
Well, we're into the Roaring Twenties now.
We are.
Oh! Series 3. In Series 2, they mention America a bit.
Ooh, yes.
Well, in Series 3, I think this is... Well, it's... When people think gangster, I would imagine they either think of sort of rappers in hoodies and silly chains, or they think of 20s, 30s, 40s America. They think of The Godfather, they think of The Untouchables, they think of...
Al Capone.
Yeah. They think of Broadwalk Empire now, which is something that gets compared to Peaky Blinders a lot, even though Stephen Knight, who writes it, has never seen Broadwalk Empire. I think that... Although the show talks about America, and we know that they ship off whiskey to America, don't they?
Yeah.
And there's a quite funny. This is quite funny. There's a picture of Tommy and Grace and the baby.
Yes.
What's the baby's name?
I can't remember.
Christ, we should know this. What's Tommy's son's name?
I don't know.
Would you look it up?
Yes.
There's a picture of them in front of either the Statue of Liberty or the Empire State Building. So we know that they operate in America, but they don't show it. Maybe for budget reasons, which is kind of funny, I guess. But yeah, our characters in Series 3, most of our new characters are Russians. They've fled from the revolution, haven't they?
Yes,
I thought the Russian Revolution was before the turn of the century, but obviously I was wrong. Yes, when we get to Series 3, Tommy is working for Churchill, doing missions for him, as we know from the end of Series 2, where his life is saved and he's recruited. And he's been sent, and what's his face? Paddy Constantine, who is equally good at villain. Constantine, sorry.
I, in some ways, think he's not a better developed character than Campbell, but I find him a bit more intimidating.
I think he is more frightening because he does a lot of smiling, which is never good.
Yeah,
but he does, and he is probably a worse person because of his preferences.
Yes.
But he doesn't have the personal connection to Tommy that Campbell did.
Yeah, that is the key difference.
Yeah, it is. He's evil, isn't he? But anyway, I said that about Campbell. Series 3 starts off. Tommy is shipping off things to America. He's got more legitimate business. Grace is involved in the council of Birmingham City, and things are looking good for Tommy. And we know that he'll never turn legitimate because they never do.
Yeah.
And I think Tommy admits that he probably thinks they won't toward the end of the series, but it looks like things in Tommy's probably at the best point in his life. We begin the series at his wedding.
Aha!
What?
I found a name! Charlie.
That's it, Charlie. How could we forget? The name of that guy you lived with, who had lots and lots of pairs of shoes.
Yes.
Anyway, not important. Series 3 introduces us to the Russians, but not Russian gangsters. Well, no, there are Russian mob. I think there is the Russian mob appear in the first episode, the wedding.
Yeah,
because that's who Arthur has to kill, isn't it? But they're just
a rich Russian family, I believe.
They are. What do you think is Series 3, Freddie?
I like it.
Yeah?
But I like all 3 series.
Yeah, I do. It retains quality. Yeah. And I think that somebody liking one series over another is just down to personal preference. One thing that's great about Series 3 is they're very much in the roaring 20s, and they've got double-breasted suits and fedoras and things, which is quite cool.
Yeah.
And Series 3 has what's possibly the best moment of the show. Death of Grace.
Yes.
Or certainly the biggest shock.
Is that your favourite moment?
What, of Series 3?
Yeah.
I don't know. But I think it's the most surprising. Tommy in Series 3.
Tommy.
What do you think of him?
I think he's more probably that's his most controlliest. I don't know if controlliest is a word.
Control.
I doubt. Yeah. I was just trying to think on my feet and keep with.
He's lying down.
Yes.
He's not thinking on any sort of feet.
I'm not. I find his actions immediately after in episode 3 believable, given what's just happened to him. That's.
So is your response. What do you think of Tommy in Series 3? Yes, he is in Series 3. It's sort of the reverse of Series 2. Like, he was in a very bad place at the start of Series 2 and a very good place by the end. In Series 3, it's the complete opposite.
Yeah.
He gets married at the start. By the end, he's lost his wife. His
family
have gone to prison.
Yes.
He's nearly lost his son.
many things
things
could happen in both series 4 and 5. They've both been confirmed.
They could. We were talking, and this might be in one of the long lost. We started and we didn't finish episodes, but we were saying we don't think that the big cliffhanger at the end of series 3 will. That will get resolved. Tommy said he'd made a deal with someone even more important than his enemies, whoever they were. I can't remember, but that can get fixed. I think the family will be released within the first couple of episodes of the series. But what that will change is that none of them will trust him anymore.
Oh yeah.
They will all feel greatly insulted that he expected them to toe the line to such a degree as that. John has that speech in, I think, series 3, where he's talking about how he and Arthur are dancing monkeys kind of thing. And John's sort of become what Arthur was. I think he's become a bit cocky.
Yeah,
and he's got a bad temper on him. He's quite violent. I don't think he's deranged like Arthur is. But he has that speech to tell me about how you just expect us to do this, do that, with no questions asked. And that there will be even more of that, I feel, in series 4 and 5. The family are going to be more suspicious of him.
Oh yeah.
Arthur in series 3. I guess you've been dying to talk about this.
Oh yeah, I love it. I love it, I tell you. I love the development.
Tell us.
It's great.
What's so great?
I love that the way that he's a completely changed man to how he was in the first 2 series. He's got a kid on the way. He plans to leave the business altogether and move to America with his wife. And one thing I especially like about it is what I expect was going to be in the speech at the wedding, but Tommy stopped.
Okay, what's that?
The kind of I expected to been much more frank and honest compared to what we up to that point knew Arthur could be.
Maybe. Yeah. I'm sorry, I kind of zoned out.
Fair enough.
I believe what you were saying.
Yes.
Whatever it was. Arthur's a changed man. It's the first series where I've liked him. But it seems like Tommy's a bit put out that Arthur's got a kid on the way and wants to go to America. Of course, he doesn't manage that because of what happens at the end.
Yes. Yes.
Polly in series 3 takes a lover.
She does.
The painter.
Yes, the painter.
Polly likes the idea of turning legitimate. I don't know about legitimate, but Polly likes the idea of living in a very classy world that the Shelbys do now. And she even has that line in, I think, episode 2, where she looks in the dress and she looks in the mirror and she just says, "A woman of substance and class."
Yes,
she says.
Yes, I remember that.
I think the idea of joining that world, which seems like it's tied to becoming legitimate, excites Polly, and it's nice to see that sort of hope for her after all the crap she's gone through in series 2, essentially losing her daughter, and what happens with Campbell. I believe doesn't Polly grass them up to someone? Okay, write in or tweet us or something if you can remember.
Please, because we can't. We're, as mentioned multiple times, we are useless at stuff like that.
The character who, like I said, not my favourite character, who's probably Polly, but I think the most interesting character, Michael. He's such a creep. Oh. He's got this really dead-eyed stare, and he always has his hair slicked back, and he's always so well dressed. Like often you see sort of John and Arthur, sort of in the kind of shirt sleeves and waistcoats with the ties off and things. He is so quiet and reserved and still, and he has that line where he's talking to that girl at the wedding, and he says, "I put everything together, but I don't partake," and it's like he's quoting sound bites. He's so refined and smooth, it's creepy. I can't wait to see where he goes.
Oh, I can't.
But I'm terrified to find out at the same time.
I think he's going down the Michael Corleone.
You think? Well, we wondered, didn't we, if maybe he's named after Michael Corleone. Because the show, if you hear Stephen Knight talking, he said The Godfather is an influence on the show. He reminds me sort of a better dressed Todd in Breaking Bad. You haven't got this far.
No, I haven't.
But he's a bit of a creep as well. Well, he's a lot of a creep. He's all of a creep, in fact. But yes, he's so smooth and creepy. Be interested to see very much where he goes next. And he's, I don't know if my favourite, but the character, the standout character for me in Series 3. That was in inverted commas. Sorry, didn't get to see it. It was a thing of beauty.
It was. I can confirm.
He is. Sorry, Freddy's computer's just locked. Hopefully, it's still recording. Yep.
Yes, it is.
He is the character that both Polly and Tommy are my favourites. I mean, he's not my favourite for this series, but he's the standout one for me. Have we missed anyone?
I don't think we have.
Favourite character in Series 3?
Arthur.
Okay. Favourite moment?
No fucking swearing.
Yes. I think for me, I don't want to say Grace's death, but it probably is. Oh, I think for me, it's Arthur killing the guy who ordered Grace's death. I heard the Blackbird sing. That's my favourite moment in the series. All right, Freddy.
Yes.
Overcranked Commander-in-Chief.
Yes.
Series 1 of Peaky Blinders. On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being Batman and Robin, 10 being not Saving Private Ryan, because you wanted to change it, didn't you?
The Good, the Bad,
oh yeah, 10 being The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. What would you give Series 1?
8. A solid 8.
Okay. Series 2 of Peaky Blinders. 1 being Batman and Robin, 10 being The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Where would you place it?
0.1. I'm joking.
He nearly got a through shown at him. A shoe thrown at him.
8.4.
8.4? Round up or down?
Alright, 8.5.
No, 8 or 9.
Alright, 8.
Yeah? Alright.
Yeah, 8.
Okay. Series 3.
8.
Yeah? Okay.
All solid 8s.
So that's an 8. What's that? That's 24 out of 30.
Not bad. That is, in terms of our university
That's
marks,
a first.
It is.
It's a first, because 8 out of 10, that's 80 out of 100.
Yes, because 23,
it's a first.
No, 21 would be 70%. That's a first.
Word.
Yeah, so this is first class.
Move closer to the microphone.
So it therefore is first class degree.
It's bloody good.
Yes.
Thank you for listening, guys.
Yes,
what are we at? 122, 23.
Before we go, we will be back on Friday for the news
recap.
Yes.
Yeah.
And next Monday for Stranger Things.
Oh yes, we are watching Stranger Things this weekend. You're gonna love it, Fred.
Excellent.
You're really gonna like it. All right. See you next week, guys or person. Thank you for listening. We love you. We really do.
Yes.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.